It's time for Compass Check, brought to you by Claret Compass. From alignment to delivery, we help teams succeed together. Let me ask you a question. Does your team practice as you play? Let me give you a little more context. As leaders, we all like to think that when the stakes rise, like the customer's on the line, the deadline looms, or the leadership team is watching, that the team will somehow elevate their performance. They'll get sharper, clearer, more aligned. But often, the truth is simpler and far less glamorous. We don't rise to the moment. We fall back on our habits. I saw a clip on social media where Tom Brady talked about the Patriots' comeback against the Falcons in the Super Bowl. The Falcons dominated the first half, and the Patriots dominated the second half to tie the game and send it to overtime. Brady shared something that struck me. He said, "I was exhausted. I took a pretty big shot on our last drive. I got hit in the head pretty good. I was on autopilot from the last drive in the fourth quarter and in overtime." Now, I'll take off my mom hat and any discussion of concussion protocols for now. And putting on my team leader hat, I have to ask, what was that autopilot? It wasn't instinct. It wasn't adrenaline. It was years of repetition, hours and hours of practicing the exact situations other people dream about. When the pressure hit, he didn't develop new brilliance. He reverted to the habits that had been trained into him. And this is one thing that can get overlooked in business. Teams operate on autopilot too, not mindlessly, but collectively, based on the habits they've rehearsed together. Think about the military. They don't wait for a crisis to figure out how to communicate, move, or respond. They train constantly. Drills, scenarios, after-action reviews. These aren't performances. They're conditioning. They're building shared habits, a shared language, and shared expectations. They're shaping how the group responds when things move quickly, unpredictably, or under pressure. Business teams need the same kind of muscle memory, not physical, but cultural. The team's ethos. Now, we live in a world overloaded with best practices. There's a recommended framework for everything: running meetings, delegating work, managing conflict, prioritizing, planning, communicating, estimating. You get the idea. But best practices aren't magic wands. They don't work because they exist. They work because teams practice them. Best practices become real only when a team has built enough collective muscle memory to know how and when to use them. Take retros, for example. On paper, they're one of the simplest and best practices in Agile. But the teams that get transforming value from retros aren't the ones who run them sporadically. They're the ones who've built a rhythm of reflection, where honesty is normal, improvement is expected, and the loop between "we'd said we'd do this" and "we actually did it" is tight. That's muscle memory. That's culture. Same with handoffs, or conflict resolution, or prioritization frameworks. They aren't powerful because they exist in the handbook. They're powerful when teams treat them as habits. Intentional, purposeful steps that build clarity and trust. When those steps become afterthoughts, the outcomes follow suit: rushed, brittle, and inconsistent. This is something leaders often underestimate. Training isn't separate from the work. Training is what makes the work sustainable. Even the smallest moment is a repetition. Every insignificant meeting is shaping the team's conditioned response. Every shortcut, like skipping planning, canceling a retro, letting misalignment live one more day, breezing past a disagreement. These too become part of the team's default mode, not because they choose it consciously, but because those repetitions sink in. Training and practicing how you play isn't about avoiding problems. It's about adaptability. It's about becoming a team that can regroup, rethink, and reset with confidence when things don't go according to plan. Because let's face it, things never go exactly according to plan. When habits are strong, teams don't panic when something shifts. They adjust, they communicate, they coordinate, they trust each other, and they move together. Why? Because they've practiced that movement, not in a crisis, but in the quiet weeks, Tuesday mornings, routine meetings, there's nothing urgent windows of time where culture is actually shaped. That's the heart of practice as you play. It's not turning everyday work into high-stress simulations, and it's not expecting people to be perfect. It's showing up with intention, treating the small behaviors like they matter, because they do. They shape your autopilot. They shape the team's collective habits into instincts. They shape whether best practices actually become your practices. Because when the moment comes, and there's always a moment, you won't reinvent excellence on the fly. You'll return to the habits you've built. You'll rely on the muscle memory you've created together. You'll fall back and rely on the level of your training. And that's exactly where your team's potential is stored. So here's your compass check. What best practice or team ritual deserves more intentional repetition? Where does the team need the muscle memory that will carry you when it counts? At the end of the day, practice as you play is about more than discipline. It's about identity. It's about the kind of team you choose to be long before the pressure hits. When you build shared habits, you build shared confidence. When you take best practices seriously in the small moments, you create conditions for excellence in the big ones. And when you treat training, reflection, and alignment as part of the real work, you create a culture that can adapt without losing its center. Great teams don't wait for the moment to decide how they'll perform. They've already rehearsed it. They've already built it. They simply step into what they've practiced together. That's all for today. Thank you for listening. Until next time, navigate with purpose, collaborate with trust, and deliver what matters. Do you have a question for us to discuss on our podcasts? Or would you like to be a guest? Visit us at k-compass.com/shift.